In the 1950s, the Canadian Avro Company designed and built a cutting-edge supersonic interceptor jet, known as the Avro Arrow. Yet, as interceptor jets were rendered obsolete by the advent of intercontinental missile technology, the program was cancelled, at the cost of thousands of jobs. All of the jets, models, and plans were ordered to be destroyed. But the rumors persisted. Could an Avro Arrow have been smuggled out and survived somewhere, maybe hidden in a barn or garage? Well, let's take a look at the story of the Arrow and see if that's a real possibility. Avro started development on the project in 1955, and just 2 years later, the first Arrow was brought out to show the public. The futuristic looking plane, with its striking delta wings, that just means triangle, immediately made its mark on the Canadian consciousness. 5 Arrows of the first edition would be created, and production began on a Mark II. But behind the scenes, there were issues. World leaders increasingly believed that bombers would be replaced by missiles, rendering interceptor aircraft useless. England and the US weren't interested in buying Avro Arrows, and the cost was just too high for Canada to pay by itself, especially when a new conservative government came to power, looking to cut costs. In 1959, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker officially canceled the project. The Arrow hadn't even officially been entered into military service. At the time, Avro employed approximately 20,000 people, making it one of the largest employers in all of Canada. 3/4 of them immediately lost their jobs, and the company would dissolve just 3 years later. Another 15,000 people who helped provide the logistics for the project, such as in the supply chain, were also put out of work. In fact, many of the engineers and scholars working on the project would later be hired by NASA to work on the Apollo missions, effectively helping the US get to the moon. Others went to England to work on the Concorde. But for many, it was a disaster. Making it worse, everything that had been done was ordered to be scrapped. Like, literally everything. Existing planes, engines, even plans were to be destroyed. Part of this was due to the threat of Soviet espionage stealing the information, and, to be fair, this was a real issue. There was an active spy ring operating within Avro, and top secret drawings of parts such as the engine had indeed been stolen and delivered to the KGB. But that brings us back to our original question. Did one of the prototype planes survive? Hidden away somewhere? If it did, Wilfred Curtis, Chief of the Air Staff, the head of the Royal Canadian Air Force, likely would have had a part. Curtis, who clearly knew about the rumors, did an interview about 10 years later that played into the story, possibly joking about the political problems that would come up if it was revealed that an aircraft had survived. He also refused to confirm whether or not he had participated in any survival of an aircraft. That's funny, but it's not really a lead indicating the survival of a whole plane. But in 1965, the nose of an Arrow was donated to the Canadian Aviation and Space Museum. Shockingly, the front of a plane had been smuggled out of the plant by RCAF medical personnel members, and for several years it was hidden at the Institute of Aviation Medicine in Toronto, where it was used as a pressure chamber. As of the present date, the Aviation Museum also holds an engine, 2 legs, and a pair of wingtips. But again, no full plane. Interestingly, these come from multiple different planes, and since there were only 5 Mark I prototypes completed, that kind of narrows down the potential of any plane surviving completely. In fact, there's an almost 0% chance that an entire plane was smuggled out of the factory. But new finds do keep cropping up. In 2020, blueprints for the Avro Arrow surfaced. Ken Barnes, a draftsman for the Avro Company, had hidden them away for 60 years in his basement instead of destroying them. An ongoing search continues for the test models that were launched during early testing over Lake Ontario. No complete scale models have been found, although an early 1/8 test model was found and raised from the lake. So is there an Avro Arrow still hiding out there? In my, and most people who don't think Bigfoot is real's opinion, no. But it's up to you to decide. What's funny is when I first heard this story, I sort of imagined the plane hiding up in the clouds. But now that I am grown up and I know how planes work, that's, obviously stupid. It's not like a wild Pegasus or something. Anyway, that was History with Dino. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to support my work and you want to see more videos. Leave a like on this video and I will get back to drawing for the next one. See ya.